And when the night falls, the magical cat band plays
So we finally did it. We've been trying to figure this out over the last couple of months. Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's always complicated in Europe or Asia because of the time, right?
Yeah, see. But is 9 in the morning good for you, or would you be a long sleeper?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
No, this time is just perfect for me.
Okay.
And my morning coffee. How are you in Switzerland?
You mean how I am, or how? What time we have free? No, I'm fine. I'm just in a. I have the last show today for a theater production I'm in. Mm-hmm. And cool. For the last 3 weeks, we always either had shows or worked until 10, 11 in the evening. And I'm really looking forward to have free evenings again.
Nice, and, that's amazing. Yeah, it was. I was very pleased to discover you on Instagram a couple of months ago. I had a hard time to put you in a box. Like, are you a band? Would you consider yourself a band, or because you play with so many, you collaborate, right, with so many artists. So UFO, first of all, I want to. So UFO, is it because of UFOs or?
That's I mean, actually, the two questions you asked are linked.
Yeah,
because
okay.
We're not really a band. I mean, yes, we're a band, but mainly something like an openly structured band or a collective.
Yeah, an open band, a collective.
Yes, I mean, we call ourselves an openly structured band. Mm-hmm. And from time to, I don't know, somewhere in the beginning, we started, I think, 2011. The name UFO appeared, and it would be linked to unidentified flying object. And it's not a really good name for a band. You know, it's not a name that we like. And from time to time, we talk about the name and if we should change it. And then we always realize that it's the ideal name for this kind of format. Since the idea is not that you should identify with a band, with specific members, but that it's really an undefined open thing. So since UFO is a very open and not such a catchy name,
sure,
and we always come to the end that it's just perfect for what we're doing.
yeah It's really interesting. I think it's part of what is changing in the music world. Like everything is different now. So it's interesting to see this approach of, it's not really a band, but it is a band, and it has this name that if you type in on Google, if you type UFO on Google, thousands of things will come, except maybe for a band, right? So but here's the thing. So how do you, so how has collaborating with so many artists, musicians, how has this all impacted in your creative process as a band?
How is it create? I mean, it's the main thing. We're also not, looking for a specific aesthetic identity, I'd say, but rather, there's a core band, so 3 members, Michael, Robert, and I.
Yeah.
And of course, we have some aesthetic preferences, but we try to put them somehow in the background when we work with somebody, and try to see what happens when an external influence comes in and turns the whole thing around. So actually, it's really these external impulses are the main thing, and we try to be as open as possible to work with them and not too much try to project something. So I guess identification and projection are some keywords probably, and it's something we don't want. Which maybe a conventional band would rather relate to, because they would probably look for a clear identity, and but that's really not what we're looking for. And also aesthetic wise, it's always changing, and depends really on whom we're playing with, in what format, if it's produced music, if it's done live.
Yeah.
It's we cannot define it.
Yeah. So it's probably hard to because I was wondering if you could walk us through the process of putting together a song or a live performance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's that process like?
Yeah, it's very different. I can try to do it chronologically over the last 10 years, how it evolved.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in the beginning, we kind of had a pool of musicians who knew more or less the same. We had some semi-songs, like openly structured songs, and we had a pool of like 6 musicians, and they all knew them more or less. And we would play free improvisation concerts. And whenever somebody started to play around with one of the ideas we all knew, the others could join. So it always oscillated between songs and free improv. And then this was in the context of, this is also dealt with in the first record we released. We did it like that. And then we felt, okay, it feels too narrow. We want to be more free. So we played for some years complete free improv only. And we played a lot of concerts with a concert series that we founded, which is called Schlägerei mit anschliessender Diskussion, which would mean something like fight with discussion afterwards.
Yeah, that's a very cool name. Yeah.
And the thing is, we at the beginning we thought we would rather play against each other than with each other, because after doing some years of free improv, we realized that it can become very cozy. That you play with new people, and everybody's trying to look for a way how to feel as cozy as possible.
Yeah.
And in the most negative way, this would mean that you wouldn't listen to each other anymore, but rather try to feel too cozy and not have open ears. So we put in this concept of playing against each other. And I mean, the ironic thing is that it's the same as playing with each other if you do it attentively, because if you play if you play against somebody, it just means that you have to be very attentive what the others are doing, and react very very strongly on impulses. And so you have to be attentive, and if you play with each other, you're also attentive. But nevertheless, the first few concerts we did it had a completely different it felt different. And to play, you know what I mean, to rather use this narrative. And then we did free improv from quite some years mainly. And then we thought it would be nice to play on stages again, because with monitoring and PA and all this, because with free improv that's not really possible, because you have to share the same room with all people listening somehow. So that means we would rather put speakers behind us in order to be in the same, really in the same acoustic room. Because you're not playing a fixed structure, and so monitoring was not working for us when we were doing free improv. And that meant that we couldn't play on bigger stages anymore. And this was one of the reasons why we wanted to do songs again.
Yeah.
And so now we're in the middle of this of the project we're releasing songs and records with, where this really our goal to write songs, whatever that means. But mainly it means that shorter time period. because before we would rather do 40-minute songs, if you want to call it song, and now it's rather 3 or 4 minutes, which is
Yeah.
a nice challenge.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because I guess, and that's also something that I was thinking about. I guess there are some challenges of being this sort of experimental group, and how to overcome them, like balance your artistic vision with the vision of other musicians or directors in your case, because you're in theater involved also, right?
Mhm.
In theater production. Uh-huh. So how do you balance that part of the artistic performance with the vision of other people?
Yeah, it's not as easy as you would think, because
Yeah.
in the end, I feel that this thing with identification seems to be important to much more people than I thought, and then you know
Yeah.
that it, in the end, there are lots of musicians who nevertheless want to clearly identify with something, or to have a
Hmm.
specific spot to cover, and that's not always that easy to find people who give you, who want to give their full energy
Yeah.
for a short moment, if you want. It's not because these collaborations are normally very short compared to how bands evolve over the
Yeah.
years. And yeah, and we just have to find, we're constantly looking for different ways how that is possible with which kind of musicians, because they are the ones who love it when it's as free as possible, and then at others we send almost finished songs, and then they feel much more comfortable when they can just put one small thing on top. And so we try to prepare different, or we always have different propositions or structures ready, that we can propose at different people, and then they can choose with what they want to identify. If it's rather something like that, it really is song-like, with a chorus and a verse, or if
Hmm.
it's rather related to states. I don't know if you can say, if yeah, if it's more of a, if the gesture is staying the same, and you know what I try,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, normally we propose different approaches, and then the people we're working with can choose how to uh, what what to interact with,
Hmm. Cool.
and like that,
Yeah.
it somehow is possible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can imagine how it would. And there, I suppose, from so many performances, there must be also some uh, particularly memorable moments, performance. Can you tell us about a particularly memorable performance, experience, concert? I don't know that you
Yeah,
can think of.
and yeah, I can. I mean, the interesting thing is that I guess really a key experience for us was a concert maybe 6, 7 years ago that went really wrong. It was a free
Okay.
improv concert. We weren't able to. It was on a bigger stage with monitoring, and we were
All
doing
right.
free improv, and it would sound bad. We didn't hear each other,
Oh,
and at
yeah.
some point, I decided that I don't want to play anymore, which was a real asocial thing.
Yeah.
And I stayed, but I couldn't. I stayed on stage, but I didn't play anymore.
Yeah.
And and the others were left to themselves. And then afterwards, we talked the whole night about this concert, and
How
it,
memorable it's gonna be.
yeah, it was really memorable, and we found out a lot about what how really to communicate
Hmm.
amongst each other and with an audience, especially if you're doing free improv, because
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it really was a bad concert. I mean, it was music aesthetic wise, yes, it was, but nevertheless,
Mm-hmm.
it was a strong social experience somehow, because
Mm-hmm.
from the outside you could also see that we didn't feel well and that we couldn't really interact. And I mean, that was also a really active thing somehow, not
Mm-hmm.
just not on an aesthetic level, but rather on a social level. And from then on, I think we started to have a consciousness for in what sense a concert is mainly a social happening and not an aesthetic happening, or how it is related. That I mean, it was just very helpful to have this experience, this
That
really bad
experience.
concert.
Yeah. Yeah, I also like when things go wrong sometimes, right? Like it has something
Yes,
to it.
and it's, I mean, it's also worth it, because when things go well, they go really well. And
Yeah.
also, if it's 1 out of 3 concerts that goes really well, because there's the possibility that it could go wrong, it's already a lot somehow, I think.
Yeah. So let's get into the geeky part of the podcast. I also love to talk about, the specific type of gear, software, instrumentation that you use. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the
Yeah.
key software or synthesizers, pieces of gear that you use
Mhm.
to produce your music, to make your music?
Yeah. First of all, there's a lot of self-built instruments.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Self-built instruments. Can you tell us a little bit
Yeah,
more
lots
about
of
that?
self. Yeah, I mean, we just use very raw material like
Uh-huh.
rubber bands or
Okay.
wood, pieces of wood, pieces of
Uh-huh.
metal,
Uh-huh.
different kinds of things you would probably normally use in a kitchen, and
Okay.
um, and then uh, and then record and or amplify it with different kind of microphones. From contact
Mm-hmm.
microphones to electromagnetic pickup microphones to underwater microphones, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot of experimentation on that side, and with
Uh-huh.
really
With
raw stuff.
microphones, right? Raw stuff and microphones. Different
Yeah,
types of
and the
microphones.
micro, yeah, and use the microphones as instruments themselves, and not as a
Mm-hmm.
thing that documents something, but rather that really is part of the instrument. I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's quite a key thing for us. That and then yeah, I mean, and then of course there are drum sets, or I work a lot with my Prophet 8, which I really like,
You have a prophet.
and
Mm-hmm.
I have a Prophet, and what would be key gear? I don't know. Robert, who's part of the core ensemble, plays a lot of clarinet at the moment, but
Uh-huh.
he's not a trained clarinet player, but he can imitate very well trained clarinet players. And I don't. I guess it's the whole self-build and thing, and using different kind of microphones is really a key thing. And then I mean, I don't know it. And then software-wise, it depends always a little on this, on in which step of the production process we are. At the end, there would be sequencer-wise, there would be Pro Tools, Live, and
Mm-hmm.
Reaper for the 3 of us, because each one of us works with a different sequence. So that's sometimes difficult to, but that's also an advantage, that when you transfer stuff, you
Yeah.
send finalized audio files, and you don't send the whole sessions with all the effects, and then everybody starts to play again with effects. But you really have to decide before you send it to somebody else, because they will work with a different sequencer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually a good thing. And during the process, we also use Max MSP and Pure Data a lot, because there's also a lot of algorithmic composition in what we're doing. So especially live, it's often not linear. It's rather conceptual, and then it makes sense to work with a program that is not time based, or with software that is not time based.
Yeah. There is a picture of you on your web page, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you are at like a children's room with tons of toys. Are those the
Yes.
things you use to make sounds too? Like a lot of wood, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the picture more detailed, you will see that the things children would play with and
Yeah,
instruments are mixed. So there are lots of instruments lying around
yeah,
between that we put there, and other things that would, or yeah. But it's really fluent transformation between also concerning the attitude, that you play with
yeah,
something in a childish way and start
yeah,
to be an expert, and then you change again. So I guess that's it's quite linked concerning the
yeah.
attitude and also concerning the material, and
Materials, lots of wood, right?
lots of
Uh,
wood. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. That's great.
wood resonates really beautiful.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that that's something I'm trying to like find an answer to that. I've been thinking a lot about, okay, so what's the sound of the future now? Is there anything else we
Mhm,
can discover now? Is
mhm,
artificial intelligence gonna help us develop new sounds and things? What do you see as the future of, let's say, electronic music or modern music, popular music, whatever? How do you hope to contribute to this evolution? Like, I'm always wondering, so is there going to be like the next big thing, like hip hop was a revolution in the 80s, right? Or things like that, electronic music when it
mhm,
started? Or can we reinvent the wheel, or it's not possible anymore because there
mhm.
are no more sounds or whatever? So what do you think about that?
Um, yeah, I guess, I mean, the thing, I feel that looking for new sounds
Yeah.
is not the interesting question, because
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I come out of a context of institutionalized music,
Yeah.
contemporary classical music, and it
Hmm.
really gets on my nerves. All these pieces and the composers always say, "Yeah, we try to find new sounds," but that's
Yeah.
not. I think that was never the interesting thing, because there are always, if you're working with acoustic instruments already, there's always infinite possibilities of sounds that happen by themselves. You do not have to force it on the instruments; it just happens. And for example,
Hmm.
in Renaissance music,
Hmm.
in Western Renaissance music, that was much more obvious, because the instruments would be much more noisy and much more experimentally built than the classical instruments that followed them. So I feel that there was much more, that they already knew how deep sound can be. Also linked to the fact that the monophonic music would mainly interact with rooms with different acoustic situations, and through that be already polyphonic. And then
Hmm.
polyphonic music would be in some way much poorer than monophonic music, because it doesn't deal with real situations or real rooms
Hmm.
anymore. So
Yeah.
in that sense, looking for new sounds, I don't think that's the interesting thing. It will happen
Yeah.
by itself. But
Hmm.
the interesting thing will be, or should already be, how to deal with digital media, and not use digital media like analog media anymore, like it would be a logical consequence, because it's something completely different. And if you find a way to, yeah, that's hard to if you find a way to really interact with it, and that means probably thinking more algorithmic, less time based, then something can open up structure-wise or interaction-wise. But and then out of that, there will also be aesthetic consequences and how this music will sound. But I think rather the structure will be much more important. How you approach, how you that you think less sequential and rather algorithmic. Yes. It's very abstract if I say it like that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, for example, I always maybe I try to find a link at the end. I'm always a little disappointed that photography, for example, that that you think that lots of people seem to think intuitively if there's higher resolution of a digital photograph, so some million pixels, it will be more objective than with one pixel. But that's not true at all, because there's always algorithms in between who translate an input to an output, and they are always ideologically influenced. So there's no objective layer to these algorithms. So a digital photography with one pixel is always more objective than a digital photography with 3 billion pixels. And I think, but there seems to be still this intuitive approach that if you think of a higher resolution, then it's more objective, and that digital through numbers has something to do with objective. And that's a misunderstanding. And this doesn't mean interaction with digital media. Interaction with digital media would mean that you accept that it's always ideological. And then I don't know what that would mean, but then you could somehow start to take digital media serious and not just use it for something that you already imagined. And I feel in some abstract way, this will probably also be linked to the way of how music will be experienced, or how produced music at least will be experienced and produced.
Yeah, absolutely. But would you say that analog is going to be always better than digital?
No, analog is just very different.
It's just very different, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel that still we use digital in a way that is too much related to analog. And it's not. It shouldn't be an imitation of what we could do before, but just better, because you through faster calculations you have more possibilities. But it should be thought about very differently, and it will always be different. Somehow it doesn't make sense to compare analog and digital. I feel.
Yeah.
And whatever that means.
What type of music do you listen to? What are some of the artists or bands that you're listening to right now that you could recommend us also, maybe?
Yeah, what kind of funny enough, I just I go to a lot of concerts with contemporary and experimental music, but I do not listen to that much produced experimental music. I don't know, somehow for me it's linked to a life experience, but I don't know.
It's always
That's
better. No?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Somehow it is linked to it. So the music I'm listening to is a lot of pop music, really produced music. So I recently discovered Fiona Apple. Funny
Fiona
enough.
Apple, yeah.
Yes, maybe 20,
She's
30
been there for a
years
while, no?
too late. Yes.
Yeah. I
But
remember her from the 90s, yeah.
yes,
She has
exactly.
this
And
song.
Criminal, yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I mean, I heard the name a lot, but I didn't really ever listen to it. But now I started to. She was a record she brought out 2 years ago, and it's really great.
It's
just
good.
a
Yeah,
very
I haven't listened to that one.
Yeah, have you been listening to it?
No, I remember
No,
Fiona Apple from the 90s, like Across the Universe. I remember was song
yeah,
that was
these,
quite cool.
but it's very different now, I think, and its
Yeah.
production is very good, and it's
Mm-hmm.
quite raw. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different rooms. She plays around a lot with space, with different spaces apparently, where she's recording in, and yeah, it's really fun. It just yeah, but that's not the kind of answer you expected, right?
I wasn't expected Fiona Apple for sure,
Okay.
but I like her too. Yeah. Let's talk about your music now before we
Mhm.
end the show today. You have a new, so you're putting out singles right now, right? It's like how often do you put these singles out now?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but we put out singles every 2 months since February last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so this will be the 8th or even 9th single
The
in
ninth
one and a
single,
half
yes. Mm-hmm.
in 1.5 years, and then every 4 singles there's a physical EP released with the 4 singles that were previously released. So every 8 months
Mm-hmm.
there's a physical EP, and this will go on for at least 8 more singles. So for 16 more months.
Cool.
And we already produced this music. Not all of it is finished yet, but most of it. And then we will see how we go on. If we focus on playing these songs live in different with different people, or if we will do something new, I don't know yet. But
Yeah.
for now, these singles are put out continuously.
Yeah. Kona Cole is the last one, right? Am I saying this right?
Yeah,
That's the
Connor
your
was.
latest EP. Right?
Yeah, probably that's the latest. Yeah, was released
Mm-hmm. Don't
last year.
cry.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
Connor is also really fun. We played sometimes for 40 minutes or so, because it's really a state. There's not there's there are no verses or choruses. It's just one mood, and you
Yeah.
can play it forever,
Yeah.
depending on who you're playing with. But that's quite fun to play it for a
Uh-huh.
long time, and to always
How?
get denser and louder.
Yeah. It's getting like louder a little bit. Like hear some more
Yes.
guitar riffs and stuff. So how would you describe the direction you are taking with these singles?
I guess we will get more experimental.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
Even more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then it was really our we really tried to produce pop music,
Yeah.
and as we think about it, and then lots of people would react to it and say this has nothing to do with pop music, but for us it has nevertheless.
Yeah.
And the longer we do it, the more we have the desire to stretch the term a little more. So I guess the longer it goes on, it will get more experimental and more open concerning the forms and the sounds and structures.
Nice. Nice.
And
What part of
people we work.
Switzerland are you? Where exactly do you live?
I live in Basel,
You live in
which
Basel.
is
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
just next to Germany and
Uh,
France.
I lived
And
in Germany 12 years, so I speak German.
okay.
But
Crazy.
I never visited Switzerland for some reason. I don't know why. I was
Yeah, but
stupid enough, I guess.
that's why.
Ja,
Why should you?
aber ich kann Deutsch. Ich kann
Okay,
Deutsch.
great. And where do
Sehr
you
gut.
live? Where was it?
Bielefeld.
In Bielefeld. Yeah, fun.
Ja,
Bielefeld is the
Nordrhein-Westfalen.
city.
Do you know?
Bielefeld is the city. Sorry.
Yeah, do you know? Have you
North
heard of
Rhine-Westphalia.
Bielefeld?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
isn't Bielefeld the city that there's a myth that it doesn't even
that it
exist?
actually don't exist.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to deal with that all my life. Yeah.
So you didn't exist for 12 years, right?
Yeah, for 12 years I disappeared, right? And then I came back.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Bielefeld, crazy. And
Yeah.
okay, and then and when did you move? When did you move?
I came back to, so I finished high school in 2002, and then I moved to Germany, and I came back here in 2013, and then I came to the Amazon region. Now I live in the jungle, off the grid.
Oh yeah, and you didn't live there before. You didn't live in the jungle before.
No. But when I came back, I
No.
started coming here, helping out in some projects like animal rescue centers and stuff. So I kind of fall in love with the nature around here, and I decided to
And
live here. I
that's
found a job here, and I thought this is a nice place to live. I love the weather, and it's just really nice. The whole. There are a lot of sounds, nature sounds. I would also like to. I make music myself too. So I don't have quite the time right now, but I also hope to start experimenting with some sounds from the jungle for sure.
which is much more differentiated than anything.
Absolutely, yeah.
You could
It's a whole new
imagine.
world here. It's lots of things to discover.
But you
So
lived
yeah, but
there
for now, yeah.
already since 10 years, you said, right? Or not?
Yeah, so here I'm already like 8
Oh, yeah.
years. Yeah, I am from Quito, the capital city, but I didn't like the big city life anymore. So what I love about being here is, it's a very simple life. You have a lot of time. I mean, I have a job because I have to pay bills and things, but I do have a lot of time just to sit down and think and do podcasting and things like that I might not have had the time if I'd lived in Quito, for example, or in Hamburg or Berlin. I don't know. Yeah. So that's what I love.
Sounds great.
Discovering the little bands. By the way, the artwork for all your singles is also wood, right? These pieces of wood.
Yeah, that's also wood. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also wood.
Yeah, and it's also linked to the colors of the photo you described before in the with all the play, with all the things that children play. It's the same kind of colors
Yeah.
that you would find a lot of in these shops.
Yeah, it's pretty original, no? Like you just put that on every single and it looks good. You don't need to show your faces always, and
no,
because there is no single photo of you on Instagram, no?
No, there's no single. Yeah, I mean that's something we also sometimes discuss about, but it's I don't know. We just feel it's also linked to this identity thing. We just feel that, or we want to find a way where it is really about the music and not about us. And it's especially on Instagram, and it just really quickly gets really dangerous that a face becomes more important.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's a tryout. Maybe we'll change the concept,
Maybe you're
but
gonna
I guess
change.
our faces will not appear there.
They will remain covered.
Yes, probably. I guess so.
So, are you working on some theater projects too right now? Can you tell us what's coming up next, maybe?
What is coming up there? I'm starting rehearsing next week on a long duration performance. It's we will perform first time in 3 weeks, probably a 2-hour version with 6 musicians. And then the plan would be next year with 12 musicians for 5 hours, and in 2 years with 50 musicians for 12 hours. So it should grow in duration and the number of people who participate.
Nice.
And it's a concept piece. I programmed it, and it's like it's already running. It sounds forever, and sometimes when we do performances, it will appear in reality, and then it will disappear again in virtuality.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like you're gonna keep on doing that, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
So if we are in Basel, what's a place to be there? What's your favorite venue or location? Maybe that you have played at?
Yeah, there are different. It really depends on what you want to see. There are. I like the Kaserne Basel very much. They have great music program and also great program for experimental theater and dance. It's a big institution for a free scene. How do you say that? Not it's for free companies.
Yeah.
that are not linked to specific institutions.
Yeah. What was the
And then
name of it?
there's Kaserne Basel.
Kaserne
And
Basel.
Kaserne Basel, and then there's the Gare du Nord, which is mainly contemporary music. It's quite specialized on that. So if you're into contemporary music, that's the place to be.
Sounds good.
And then there's the Humbug, for example, or the Ausstellungsraum Klingenthal. Actually, there's quite a few very nice places.
And this concert series, Schlägerei mit anschliessender Diskussion, is that where does that take place? It's like in different places.
Yeah, it's in different places. It originated at the Off-Bar in Basel, which would be a very small, smoky place. Very.
I like those places. Yeah.
So
we had a few in Bielefeld too.
Quite a few in Bielefeld. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And but for now, we're not doing any Schlägerei of this series, but it will appear again, I guess. But it mainly happened there, but also in different cities in Switzerland, and someday it will expand to other countries, I guess.
Awesome. So Lukas, it's been fun. Thanks for taking
very
the time
much.
to chat with me.
Thanks to you very much.
It's kind of a funny thing always to talk to people only on because I'm talking to my computer basically with another part of the world. So it's always kind of a fun experiment too, right? Not to see our faces, just voice with people you don't know actually, and then eventually a nice discussion comes out. And sometimes I've been doing this for a while already now. I've discovered lots of bands. With some of them, we still keep in contact. And I'm trying to make a festival here in the Amazon region with some of my guests. So maybe someday we'll come by and play here.
Wow, that would be really great. I have a very good friend in Brazil whom I wanted to visit for a long time. So maybe it will happen at the same time.
Absolutely. Lukas, thanks so much.
Thanks very much to you.
Yeah, I really like Pank. Do you have like a favorite one? Is that a good question? Is there those artists have a favorite?
No. It always depends on if you're playing it live, if you're listening to it, in what mood you. No, I like them all.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, Lukas, thanks so much.
Thanks to you very much, Ivan.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too. Goodbye.